5 seconds to submergence. Submergence deep into the absurd.
Because they were a child and their brain wasn't fully developed, and
It's
they
best
saw it as something
like
that
being
wasn't.
like telling on anyone is the worst thing you could ever do.
Wait, telling on someone? Worst thing that you could ever do? Why?
Being a narc.
So why does that make you bad? Explain it.
Well, you might actually save a lot of people by being a narc, but you also might be the bad guy because everyone is mad at you for disrupting their what they wanted, their reality that they created, even though it is self-detrimental.
Okay, well, what if you were a narc sometimes and not a narc other times? What if you judged based on the situation?
What if a giant bullet just flew into your brain right now from outer space?
Then I'd be dead.
Okay, let's stop talking about what ifs.
Isn't that the entire idea behind philosophy? Like, philosophy is literally just what if.
Yeah, it is a lot of what ifs.
It's probable reality.
Yeah,
We're not talking about it's like a giant bullet from space is improbable reality, Terron. We're talking about a probable reality. So your what if is different than our what if.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm just saying, maybe it'd be better to choose whether or not to narc based on the situation instead of saying narking is never good, narking is always good. Because that way you can kind of, because every situation is different, you know, and you're never going to know.
So you never betray your parents?
It depends. What if I need to betray my parents?
If they're child molesters, yeah.
What if they convince you
betray
that,
your parents?
What if you are so psychologically traumatized that you can't?
At the end of the day, you need to trust yourself.
Okay.
And sometimes you also might need someone else to give you a good kick in the ass. Just
Somebody
so you
yell
can
at
say
you.
shit like
Someone
you're
to,
right.
someone to make you feel uncomfortable, someone to kind of like...
Well, to push you off that pedestal.
Yeah, slap
right?
you around a little bit.
Yeah, because you got a little like you're on this little pedestal. I'm me. I can do this. I can judge everything for myself. I don't need anyone to tell me what to do. And then you start making a bunch of dumbass choices.
So you have to do everything in your power to be the person that gets to tell other people what to do.
No. No.
Well, as Joe Rogan says, like, what's the point of having fuck you money if you never say fuck you? That maybe the point is to be able to say fuck you when it means something. Like, stand for the things you want to stand for that actually mean something to you. So, like, maybe the point is to get to the point where you can stand up for your rights because they're worth losing, friends over.
Yeah.
Or they're worth losing money over. Like, you can say fuck you when you want to because, I've got my own piece of property.
No,
I produce all my own food.
Fuck you because you actually believe it's the right thing to do at that
Well,
point.
exactly.
Yeah.
That you want to be able to have that freedom. And that's the only level of freedom, in my opinion, that like really matters is can you stand up for the things you want to stand up for?
You can also say fuck you, and then you can say let's work something out on this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You find middle ground.
There's compromise.
Let's compromise a little bit because we don't need to just go fuck you and just like stab him in the chest.
Well, yeah, no, that is not what I mean.
Parents have had I'm assuming all of our parents have had our best interests at mind for most of our lives.
Yeah.
And that we wouldn't. That we wouldn't be able to have these philosophical discussions if it wasn't for our parents allowing us to make us be able to do stuff that doesn't.
To
really-
think for ourselves and be alone and imagine and feel free.
Yeah, sure.
To pursue happiness.
Yeah, well, not just pursue happiness, but pursue it on your own terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not on what other people tell you how you should pursue it.
Well, and to decide what you believe is happiness versus what
Yeah.
other people believe.
Because you can't be happy if it's all on some fucking track.
Yeah, and you can't be trying because you're unhappy with the life that you're living. You can't detract from someone else's life. Like, for example, like I can't, like just because I think you having your parents destroy their perfectly fine house is retarded. Like, I'm not saying that to detract from your parents, but I'm just saying that
If you were in that situation, you wouldn't do that. Because...
I would just do what people told me to do.
Okay.
That's the kind of person I am. With kindness in my heart. As nerdy or as yeah.
Well, sometimes when you destroy something and then build something entirely new, you have a way higher value in the end.
Yeah, I'd rather live in a house that I built than a house that someone else built.
Yeah.
I'd rather live in my car before I want to be miserable. Because nothing good comes from comfort. All
what?
just like being uncomfortable is good because it teaches us to rely on ourselves rather than other people. And you can't rely on yourself until you have broken away from other people, and that has to be taken into the consideration that everyone around you loves you. And because they love you, they want you to find your own purpose and your own meaning in the world, and so you have to go out there and do something. Understanding that you are way better off than other people have been, so you gotta freaking go do something.
So, I would say that one scenario where excessive discomfort could be detrimental would be like, okay, let's say it was very uncomfortable for the stock market to crash in the late 20s, and people got so uncomfortable, and felt such a lack of freedom that they felt hopeless. And so maybe being able to achieve some level of comfort is beneficial. And constant stress does not really help, say a human body. Like if you're constantly under stress, think about how your sleep is. Think about how your hunger control is. Like there's a certain level of too much discomfort, like too much oppression.
No, well, in our society, we're stressed all the time because we have to keep track of the time. We have to keep track of, when payments are due, we have to keep track of all the money that's in our bank account and all this shit. We have to, type shit with our numbers. We have to worry about how fast we're going on the road and shit like that. But if we just lived out on the land, then we wouldn't have to worry about any of that because all we'd have to do is go out and get food and then come back.
Yep. And maybe it's stressful sometimes because you can't find food.
Because your actions are in the court system that is existing in the person that grew up in the 40s. like my grandparents.
Yes.
So there's a delay.
Well, I mean, our court system is also based on a lot of stuff from the very beginning, from 200 years ago, 250 years ago.
No, that's actually not true at all. Because we first started having a court system when there were like peons. And
Oh yeah, you're right.
kings
You're right.
in ancient.
But the particular judicial system in the United States, the model, because it's kind of different.
It's hypocritical of itself.
How?
Because we're the land of the free, but we're still not.
Yeah, we were still not free, but like back in those days, that was some like pretty.
Because you can't be truly you can't be humble and
Yeah.
free at the same time.
What do you mean?
I mean, you can't. To be free is to not have any worries or to not. It depends on what being free is for the individual, but being humble is being able to relate to all people's perspectives. And so you can't. It's like a lockbox because you can't be free while simultaneously relating to everyone's perspectives.
So do you think "you're wrong" is a simile for
I think this is retarded. And I don't know what simile means.
Well, I wasn't like calling you wrong. I was just saying.
No, like literally.
He was saying your sense of wrong. Your sense of wrong versus right.
Yeah, I'm not talking about you at all.
My morals?
No. No. I was gonna say, do you think saying "you're wrong" is a simile for? I'm not quite sure if I understand what you're saying.
I don't think it's about me.
Okay. What do you mean?
Yeah,
Exactly. I don't understand what you're saying. It's not that you're wrong. I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't understand what I'm saying. Let's get Dietrich's perspective.
Is saying you're wrong a way of also expressing that you don't understand them?
Yeah,
or
that's
understand
what I
they're saying? I think
No,
maybe
he's asking me.
maybe it's
Wait, who are you asking this? Are you
no, I'm
asking
just
Gregor?
basically repeating the question for myself
Yeah.
because I'm trying to
Sorry.
get
Yeah, I was just.
Yeah.
He was just repeating.
the ball rolling in my brain because I mean I was actually interested in maybe what you had to say, Terron. But I guess for me, if I said someone was wrong, it would mean I'm not coming from the same place as you. So you're wrong in my perspective because we're not coming from the same place.
We all come from the same place.
No, but like you're raised from different parents. Like I would say, like if you were saying like, "Oh, I'm afraid to move out on my own," per se, I would say, "Well, you're wrong. You shouldn't be afraid. There's nothing you should be afraid of." But I have nothing I'm afraid of.
Talking about.
But
No, it relates.
No, it does not.
But maybe he doesn't understand how you feel because he's never been through it before. That's what he's saying.
Well, I've been through something similar. I could technically still be entirely dependent on my parents, but I chose to put myself in that uncomfortable situation to go live on my own, which is not necessarily the best choice. I'm not here to judge your decisions, but I am here to say that
And
there's
you
a
motivated
possibility
me to do
that you're wrong.
No, you gotta motivate me to do this, Dietrich. I cannot do it by myself.
You don't need me. Like,
I don't think you guys understand the magnitude of the situation. I cannot function without other people.
I do think humans are social creatures, and I do think it's beneficial. Like, it's even proven that people, like, one of the things that influences health most is having a strong community of friends/family. I believe friends are basically the family that you choose to have, which in a way sometimes kind of makes them more important than your own family because they're there for you because they want to be, not because they have to be, not because they're born into your family or because they chose to birth you.
Because my parents have your back. And my parents have Greg's back.
Yeah.
And my parents have my back.
and his grandparents have his parents' back.
And I have Greg's back, and I have Dietrich. I have your back.
So you've got a lot of people that have got your back, man.
Well, I think when it all comes down to it, I wouldn't go to your parents for help, and I wouldn't go to your grandparents for help. I'm willing to like share good times with them, like sit down for a meal with them, but I wouldn't ask them for money. I would ask my parents for money if I really needed it, but
I just
like
steal it. I just
there are
wanna-
different levels. There are different levels of having someone's back, and like to say that you have someone's back is like what that means to you is very different than what it means to me. And for me, it's like
and you shouldn't have everyone's back.
no.
Fuck
Like,
no, I
are you
shouldn't
gonna have
have
the back of a
anyone's back.
pedophile? Like, are you
No.
gonna have the back of someone who's like willy nilly beating the shit out of people for drug
No, but
deals?
hey,
Like,
guess what? I'll have the back of someone who is smart with money.
Hey man, if I took that?
yeah, go for it.
That is bad for your heart.
Nicotine stresses every single organ in your body,
nicotine
Terron.
is not good for you.
You're like, that's why I smoke.
Yeah, so I can die as soon as possible, as late as possible.
They say it's the only legal way to kill yourself,
Yeah, that's how I do it.
Well, alcohol.
and alcohol.
Alcohol, you can kill yourself real fast.
Oh yeah, but
in multiple ways.
yeah. But here's the thing, like, you can be publicly intoxicated, but you can't be publicly nicotine high. Like you can be publicly nicotine out. Like, you could smoke as many cigarettes as you want in public as long as it's not within, like, 20 feet of a school or
Yeah.
or, like, a shopping center or something like that. But, like, you could literally smoke so many cigarettes you give yourself a heart attack. I don't know what overdose on cigarettes would do. I know for me, if I've been extremely nic high, I just puke. Like, that's me. But... and everything starts spinning. But I guess it's possible you could also get like maybe a brain hemorrhage or something like that. I don't know what the mechanisms of it are, but
Or you could just take like a giant, like 20-pound post hole digger, like post pounder thing and just like sling it on the top of your head as hard as you can.
Dude. Yeah. Oh, I remember that time when we went, we were with your dad and your friend Finn, and we were sledgehammering that concrete.
Yeah, Finn was being a pussy.
He was? I thought he was jamming down hard on
No,
that
he's
thing,
being
man.
a complete fucking pussy.
Shit, dude.
Anyways, well, he wasn't being that much of a pussy, just my... Honestly, I think my dad was just being a pussy.
So, Dietrich, Terron said that you're good at singing.
I mean, it depends. That's subjective. That's subjective.
Okay, let's see if you can sing these lyrics.
Hey, no, that's not how this game works. You don't copy something, you let it... You let it be weird. You don't overthink the shit. But I do actually have an idea. So, wait.
I gotta figure out what that second line is.
Well,
Hey,
I usually do better if I've got a little melody to go to it, but
yeah. I've got a minute. really short. Life is really short. Everybody dies. Smoke some marijuana. Smoke some marijuana. Just give it a try.
Okay.
You got it? Then you can kind of like do some moderation. You can change the words around. Do whatever. T-Dog and D-Dan up in the house trying to make it out here, playing some tunes for y'all.
We gotta get the camera. Okay, anyway, Dietrich. Over here. Hey, you gotta play the drums, bro.
Okay, let's Wait, oops. No, we don't want to do that.
No, just, hey, no, don't do that. What are you doing? No, stop. What are you doing? We're just gonna move the amp.
Oh, I was thinking move this and
Yeah,
then
don't
Dietrich
overthink
can
it, Greg.
sit on like.
Don't overthink it.
I'm already moving it.
It's way simpler than you. There's not any science to it. You just do it.
And then you could also play the guitar too.
Oh, I don't really have those kind of skills. I mean, I can play the guitar, but
Well, I mean, just try. I mean, we're just having fun. It's not
I
like.
just-
We're just literally.
Yeah, dude. Like, we're just banging around, bro. It's all good.
It's like, we're just like.
I don't have any skills whatsoever, dude.
We're just
So,
literally
it's all good.
screaming, like when I get pissed, like
we're
I
just having
broke
fun.
a pair of drumsticks the other day. I got pissed and I just freaking destroyed them on all of this. Like these drum skins.
Forget about how we think that you sound because we don't care because we're doing our own thing. But we also gotta.
might need some hearing aids after that.
See, we gotta turn the drums down. turn it down. But also, this thing, I might just pick up the jump out. Where'd you put the jump out? It's just these drums are so freaking loud and annoying. Those ones.
Yeah, I turned it down.
No, turn yours up. I can't freaking hear anything.
Oh. The guitar slaps, man.
Really?
Yeah, it does.
It sounds really good.
Yeah, it sounds really good. Seriously, man. Good job.
Like, I know it's gonna. I know it's redundant, but the guitar as much as possible can whistle and like in your head sing along to whatever you're doing. That's my fault. I got so absorbed in what I was doing with my fingers is I couldn't have a different perspective. I just got closed-minded. At least turn it down a little bit.
Okay.
Because you're overpowering all of the other instruments. Sorry, I'm getting way too excited about this. Yeah, keep going, Dietrich. Wait, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 6. See, because I grew up on classic rock, so I can't do the 60s shit as well.
Why'd you leave me? I don't know where to go anymore. I don't know where to go, where to go. Who am I to think that I could be with someone like you? Oh, who are you to think you could be with someone like me? Oh,
I thought that was gonna keep going. I was like,
No, my left hand's getting tired.
Yeah, dude.
wait, did you get that?
Yeah, it's on.
Everything's on there. You got everything from the Terron going.
Hey guys, I think we're gonna make it. I think it's gonna be okay.
To me, just like fucking in the background, just like.
Yeah. Well.
But what's
We
funny is
probably-
Terron
what we
can
need
play
to
the
do
guitar like a
is-
motherfucker. Like he's just.
Yeah.
He's way better than I'll probably ever be. Like, I don't aspire to be that good. I don't want it like he wanted it when he was younger. Like, I'm fine. I'm usually fine learning the base level of everything.
That was some good guitar, man.
Like,
You and Greg remind me so much of each other.
Like-
you have so little confidence in yourself.
no, what are you talking about? Like, I'm confident in my ability to learn the basics of almost anything and be proficient, but I am not an expert in any way in any area. Like, I can do everything, but I've never been able to achieve excellence like that fine point. Like, someone goes, that's the best. No one ever goes, that's the best about me, but that's fine. Like,
Hey,
I don't aspire to be that.
You want to go camping tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I can't. I have work.
No, you don't. Not
Yes,
anymore. No, not anymore. Don't worry
you
about
gotta
it.
go to
Terron.
work, man.
Yeah, you gotta go to work.
Like, maybe that's why you can't live on your own. Like, you're like, I don't have work. Like, no. If you have work, you have work, because guess what? Right now, I live in the confines of society. Like, I live in a society.
don't
And
we
maybe at
all?
some point, I won't have to live in a strict
No, we all
society
live
that
there.
dictates that I always have to go to work every day. But no matter where you live or what you do, like, you always have to, like, live and be there in the moment. Because if you choose not to go to work, well, what else are you going to do? Are you going to actually pursue something else that's going to make you money or make you a living? Or are you just going to, like, sit around?
Well,
Yeah, because the thing is, you could get all
Yeah.
your shit handed to you.
Well, when I sit around, I actually do a lot of work. I make music and I write a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not judging you, man. I'm just saying, like, from our perspective, like, people who, like, it's just like, you gotta do you, man. That's the point. Like, you gotta do you.
No, like, so, like, if I were in your position, if I were living here, I would take that opportunity to, like, make the money and find a way to get out of here and then have your own thing. Like, because this isn't your thing, in a way. Like, this came from your
Yeah,
grandparents and
but I
your
can't have
parents.
money because then I'll go to prison
Wait, what? Wait, what? What do you mean?
because we do a bunch of illegal shit.
What do you mean? I don't do any illegal shit.
No, not
I
you,
might not
but-
wear my seatbelt, but
My
I don't
family.
believe that even should be illegal. Like, I could get fined
We
for
are
it.
deeply embedded with the cartel.
That's not true.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows?
Terron,
All I'm
you're going to
saying
the radical what ifs like that probably don't
I
exist again.
I tell people I have a low pain tolerance, but I have an extremely high pain tolerance.
What matters more, what you tell yourself or what you tell other people? Does your perception of yourself mean more to you, or does the perception of other people's perception of you mean more to you? I mean, the truth is in your actions.
My perception of myself, because I act in a way that makes people the way I want them to believe that I
Well, that's what I do.
am. Oh, so we can relate? Okay.
Well, not to all people though. Just people that I feel self-conscious around. I may leave out certain things or not fully be my authentic self because I'm scared that they'll reject me or not like me. And what that does is it puts me in this box where I think, okay, well, I can't talk to this person, right? Like, I can't talk to them. I can't connect to them because I'm too scared to. And sometimes in life, you got to do things that you're scared to do.
Okay, I have a severe fear of not being able to smoke marijuana. Like, I do enjoy alcohol a lot.
Well, maybe you know now where you need to move. You need to go where marijuana is legal.
Montana.
Go to Montana.
No, you guys are not thinking about this the right way.
I want to move to Montana. You do too?
No,
Yeah.
because how it is for me is I either have to...
I see it, like, I don't see it as more free than Idaho,
Okay,
but I see
my
certain,
parents, okay,
like, I was
don't
looking at, like,
like
what
people
places are
smoking
best
weed.
to raise your own food,
Yeah.
and, like, certain parts of Montana are better than Idaho.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I don't really care, like, I don't care if you call it Montana or you call it fucking
My grandpa.
didgeridoo or, like, what, I don't care what the place is called.
Yeah.
I'm there for the benefits. Like,
Yeah.
It's not.
Like, just all the land. Like,
yeah. I want to
and-
own a lot of land.
And I mean, honestly, I think they do have more freedom because more space, more freedom. And like, people are nicer to each other, I think.
Go to Wyoming.
Because wherever you go, there you are. It doesn't matter what you have. It doesn't matter if you own SpaceX. It doesn't matter if you're a god among mortals. Like, wherever you go, there you are. Like,
Well, I mean, I 100% agree with you. But also,
If you go to prison, you can't necessarily express your freedom.
yeah.
Because you maybe
Criminal
you're
well, you
there.
can have freedom of mind, though, because anyone can...
Criminal disenfranchisement. It's almost like you did like an episode or something.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, I mean, anyone can think, though. And with that said, you're, like, for the most part, in control of your emotions and your thoughts and your beliefs. I mean, it's really hard to break out of a belief once you have one, because it's interlocked within your personality. But at some point, I think you can, for certain, you can change the way that you feel by changing the way that you think about something. And sure, let's say you're chained up for an eternity and there's no way out of it. What are you going to do? Just sit there and suffer the whole time? Or are you going to figure out a way to enjoy it? Because, I mean, you're going to be in there forever, basically. No way out. So, I mean, if you can find a way to enjoy it, you should. But, I mean, maybe. But there's that other side of that where we don't have to enjoy your suffering and deal with it. But there's also the side of that where enjoy your suffering and deal with it when necessary. And then when you can, within your own bounds of your heart, do what you can to become more free in your perspective.
Sure.
That was kind of a long tangent, but...
Yeah, I think maybe that's valuable for people who are in situations where they're more stuck. But, like, with the people who are in situations where they're actually way more free, a lot of times people, like, create these prisons of mind. Like
Yeah.
I can't do that. That's too hard. And it's like, I always tell people, just instead of saying I can't, maybe just say I'll try. I don't know how to yet, but I'll try. Or maybe I won't be the best, but I'll try. And because like trying is literally all you have. And some people say there is no try, only do or don't. And I think that's bullshit.
Like Yoda.
Yeah, I think that's just bullshit because that's
Yeah.
like the truth is like you can try to catch a ball. And yes, you either will or won't, but like the try still has to be there because if you never try,
Okay,
you never
but-
will catch the ball.
But we have to define trying, because if you just go out and like, let's say you want to try baseball, you go buy a baseball bat, and then you go out and then you just you try to give it a few lazy swings, like that's not trying. Trying is really focusing on something and giving it your best.
Yep. So that, I mean, I guess that would be my definition of try. Like give it your best, and then if then you decide this isn't for me, then move on, or maybe try harder. Like because they say like obviously there are different levels of try. Like Michael Jordan went from basketball to baseball, and I bet you if he tried his hardest at both, he would be incredibly talented at both. But he enjoyed basketball more. So it's more about trying the things you think you might enjoy. And then when you find that you really do enjoy it, like I really enjoy going to the gym. Like I always come out of the gym feeling better than when I went in, even if I'm in pain.
Well, that's because you're supposed to move, man.
Yeah, movement is foundational.
Yeah, and well, I mean, if you don't try to do something hard, and if you don't try to give it your all, and then you give up, you'll never actually know if you even liked it because you never actually tried it.
Yeah.
You've just put your toe in it, basically.
Right.
Instead of jump right in.
Right, like how do you know if the water's cold if you only dipped your toe in? Well, subjectively you could say it's cold, or you could be like, say, Wim Hof, and just be like, convince your mind that it is bearable, and it's actually comfortable. Like, it's more comfortable to put yourself in the uncomfortable situation of trying your hardest than it is to sit there and never try. Like, sitting there and never trying, like, I have been a not trier at more things than I have been a trier, but people still perceive me as someone who tries their hardest. But that's because it's like, say Trump. He says make an investment in something that like you believe in, something that you actually think you can make happen. He says if I don't think I can win, I don't try.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's very smart because if you don't think you could ever make it, then why would you try?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a belief in self as well.
Yeah, well, the thing is, if you can find happiness and meaning in your suffering, then you'll be able to do the suffering necessary to get what you want.
Yeah.
So, but if you're not willing to do that, then you'll just be in too much pain all the time, and you'll be sick, right? And you won't be able to try your hardest at stuff that you want to try your hardest on.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes into commitment, right? Commitment is kind of equivalent to trying your hardest.
Yeah. There have been so many times where I've tried something and didn't commit fully, and I failed.
Yeah, me too. Well, I mean, I think everyone's been through that. I mean,
those are the biggest disappointments, though. Like when you told yourself that you tried and you didn't try your hardest.
Yeah.
And then you realized, later that you didn't try your hardest, and then you a lot of times we just blame it on something else, someone else, and like we say, well, it was a part of it that I didn't try my hardest.
Yeah.
But like, one example of this in my life was wrestling. Like everybody told me I should be a wrestler. I look like a wrestler. I'm built like a wrestler. I've got the mindset of a wrestler. But when I tried it, I didn't really like I enjoyed it a little bit, but it like for some reason it wasn't as enjoyable as basketball. Like I loved basketball, and I am not built like a basketball player. I may have a little bit of hops, I may have a little bit of ball control, and I'm probably never going to be the best. I will never be the best. That's one thing that I'm certain of because I don't have the attributes of the best. But I enjoy it, and that's where I'm willing to go.
Okay.
That's what brings me more happiness, even though
Well, the point of life is to do the impossible, man. Or at least try to.
Well, I don't know. If you believe in the impossible, I think anything's possible. And for me, I believe in God. I believe anything is possible with God.
Okay.
Without a higher sense, you have no meaning. Like you just like you're just living for the self, and then when you die, it's thoughtlessness. It's nothing. Like, and I can't believe in a nothingness after this something, because like this is way too ingrained and deep. Like what we're doing right now is not something that would have just evolved from nothing. Like that does not make a single bit of sense. You can't create order from chaos, and this world is not chaos. There's a lot of order.
But what if we're more chaotic now than we ever were before?
We've devolved in a lot of ways.
Like this civilization,
it even shows
where it's so structured, we have to think about all these things. It feels more chaotic.
Well, yeah, and it also, if you think about it, or not just think about it, look at the research. Our brains, at one point, were growing and growing and growing. Like, if you look at anthropology and the size of the skull and the average size of a brain, it was growing and growing and growing until we hit the convent of agriculture. And agriculture brought us back down because there was more, quote unquote, order to agriculture.
Yeah,
but
100% agree.
Think about this. If your brain is not constantly searching for a way to find food because you literally just have food at your fingertips all the time, your brain's going to shrink over time, like through generations. And I'm not just talking about like one person. I'm talking about generation after generation. So we're probably getting more stupid in ways that we don't understand.
100%.
Like, and that maybe that's why we have this sense of try and don't try. It was like survive and don't survive.
Could you get to without a map?
No.
Okay, yeah. See, our brain size is getting smaller because we're not using our brains. We just use our fucking phones.
Where something is.
Yeah.
We just type it.
Well, like
into our phone.
I mean, technically I could find it because I know it's in Coeur d'Alene, Dalton Street. I could drive around there. I could probably use a map to find it. I honestly think I could do that. But if I did not know Coeur d'Alene, like if you asked me another address in another country, I would be like, no, fuck that. Like I don't even.
You can ask me an address in Sandpoint, and I have to use Google Maps to find it.
Yeah, I mean, same here with Coeur d'Alene.
But back in the day, I might have to talk to 5 different people to find out where I'm going.
Now, how do I get to Timbuktu? Huh?
I guess we just be going north.
We going ham
and
on
then when
the
they tell us
streets.
to go south, we go south.
And by golly, if they tell us we're going east, motherfucker, I'm going east.
I am off to the east.
So would that mean there's like more trust in your fellow man to point you in the right direction?
No.
Yeah. Yes,
No,
there's more trust in people instead of this machine.
Absolutely not. Because a machine is consistent.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is why we are still important, because we can give the machine inconsistent data points for it to process.
I think the difference is I just wish the machine weren't there. I wish it was like I never even knew what the machine was.
Yeah, because we're relying on the machine, because as soon as you have it, you can't go without it.
No, because if you're in an environment where you don't depend on a machine, it doesn't matter.
So imagine
Dietrich's utopia.
I was talking about, the possibility of how would another country gain control over all of our land, which is the most valuable thing we have in America.
Dietrich.
Terron, hold on. The most valuable thing we have in our country is fertile land. Like, think about what created countries, like volcanic eruptions that created, say, continents. And so the land is important. Like,
And we have a lot of land.
And we have a lot of land. Now, if someone wanted to gain control of that land, they could only do so if they got rid of our electronics, our defense. Like, if how would you, and like, I don't condone violence or anything, but like, killing people. If you were to kill as many people as possible, as efficiently as possible, all you have to do is starve them. So if people can't get their hands on food, what are they going to do? Like if they're in these big metropolis cities and no more trucks are coming in, no more food's coming in, no airdrops, no nothing.
Yeah, and we're totally reliant on the trust that some group won't destroy all of our crops.
So
well, it's not even just
on fear.
It's not even destroying our crops. It's It's stopping all the supply to these large groups of people. Then these large groups of people end up starving, killing each other for food, or killing each other to prevent the total consumption of all the food.
Utopia.
No, it's not a utopia.
No, Dietrich, I want you to write out or at least speak your utopia so I can write it
No,
out.
my utopia is decentralization, where all the power goes from all these people who control all these factors back to the people making their own lives.
Yes.
With,
Beautiful.
With their own homesteads and their own
Beautiful.
farms. You know, if your farm,
No Super One, no Walmart. No, seriously, right?
Sure. I mean, but here's the thing. Like, I
Like,
can't.
we go to, like, you're okay,
I'm not saying.
Dietrich's work got canceled tomorrow. We're going to Bonners Ferry.
Terron, I'm not saying that all infrastructure and all of this stuff is bad. I'm just saying we're too dependent on it. And if more people produce
I
their
think
own
it's
food,
horrible.
we're going to have that.
Industrialized society in its future.
by Ted Kaczynski.
Yes.
I am
no, I've heard of it. I haven't read it,
so
but I get.
overboard on your
Dude,
concepts.
you would be so into it, dude.
I get-
You are you literally say his words in a different way.
I get the gist. I'm just saying that, like, it's not 100% a downside what we have now. There are upsides. Like, Terron, the freedom for you to sit here and make music and write stories on your computer without a pen and pad, like, all the abilities, like, the ability for you to run that amp and flick a light and have heat and all these things means you don't have to work for all those things.
I do help.
And well, I mean, we're like
I
reliant.
work
on this
really
huge
hard
system.
for this.
But I think there's
we know.
there's still a level of dependency that is gonna be there. Like, who's gonna make your horseshoes? Well, the blacksmith. Not everyone's gonna be a blacksmith or their own blacksmith. Like, I'm not saying completely separate everyone and then just say
Be
have
friends
fun.
with each other.
Yeah, like, actually,
Don't burn a bridge.
no, like,
Don't burn bridges.
if you actually need people, you'll be much more respectful. It's like,
And then if you abuse
But what if
what
you
they
don't
give you,
want to
then they don't have to
lead
give you
people?
anything anymore.
Yeah,
They can
and-
say, we're good, man.
well, hell, they don't even have to. Not only could they stop trade with you, but if you really piss them off, you have to defend what's yours so they don't take it.
Yeah.
Because if they're like, oh, that's too corrupt of a person, they're not helping anyone.
You
they're
can't be
destroying
on a
everything.
pedestal.
If they go, they're destroying everything,
You have to
then
be humble.
they're gonna come and take your shit,
People
and they're gonna
have to
kill
be
you
humble.
off because you're not worth keeping in their society, and it's a more
But they don't
respectful,
believe what
humble
you
society.
say if you put yourself above them.
So I still believe in, like, having communities and having trades. I think community is one of the best things we have, but we lose community, oddly enough, with the more we gather. Like, we gather so heavily that it's like people say, oh, I want to get out of this apartment so I can be alone and, like, actually not hear all these people. But, like, they don't realize that all these people around them are also living the same exact life they're living, just a different version of it. And it's like they don't realize that there's an abundance of nature out there willing to sustain them, but people are paying big interest groups to shut that down, because that's freedom. When you have choice, that's freedom. When there is no choice, obviously there's always a choice to change how you think, like whether you're in prison or you're on a space shuttle for some reason out to nowhere. Like, no matter where you are, obviously, there you are. So you have
Wherever you go, there you are.
control of thought. But
Prison is
what do
good.
you want? Do you want to just be this person
I want-
trapped in a physical confinement, only able to use your thought to create happiness, or would you like to try and get some happiness from the land and then share that happiness with you and yours? Like, there's a lot of times we overcomplicate it and make it seem like, these massive what ifs are a possibility, but they're not. So, like, it is a possibility that we could fight for decentralization, take the power back from these huge power structures, but more and more people have to get on board and say, I'm not okay with someone making all my food, pumping it full of hormones, wrapping it in plastic, and destroying everything in the process. Like,
Yeah.
you have to take it into your own
Killing all the
hands.
fields. They're killing all the bugs.
Yeah, monocrop agriculture.
Yep, monocrop
It's-
agriculture.
And it's like, it's not even just that. Like, think about how many soybeans they have to take to make soybean oil. They're making people so sick and unhealthy, they don't have control of thought because
Okay.
they're addicted to their food.
Where do we want to spend our time?
Oh, what do you mean?
So how do we consolidate this information?
I was just gonna post it all raw.
Yeah.
The whole thing?
Yeah, I might cut out a couple things, but I'll probably just throw it on there. Okay.
I'd probably cut out a little bit of the music stuff because a little bit of it was like just straight up.
Wait, so who has the copyright to this?
There is no copyright.
No, because
It's
Well-
not copyrighted, dude. It's literally raw. It's just on the Audible. It's just a file.
yeah.
No
But
one has copyright.
you have ownership of that file. Because that file is going into your computer.
Yeah, it's going into my computer, but I mean, it's just a computer
just
that
have
I
to trust
attach to
you.
my identity. Yeah, I mean,
Wait, why don't you attach it to an alias? So that no one knows your identity so you can do whatever you want.
the Philosopher King. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that would be way too
But-
divulging. You would give up everything by saying who your alias is.
But that is good. But that is going to be the main character of the book that I'm writing.
Oh, the Philosopher King.
Philosopher King, because at the end he like, it's
Does he have a
sincere.
Tik-
He writes
Wait,
a letter
doesn't
to
the Philosopher
humanity.
King have a TikTok?
He did, but the videos kind of sucked, so he got rid of it.
Yeah, 300 people that saw those videos know who the Philosopher King's real identity is, and unfortunately, I guess I'll just get the copyrights to all that.
I don't think there is a copyright. It's just a file.
Yeah, that's why we have to source.
That's why Well, I mean, there's trust.
That's why there's sources.
Right now, it's just trust and respect. But once more people get involved, it's gonna have to be copyrighted.
I don't even care if this is copyrighted because here's the thing. If my message still but like if my message still gets out there, that the
Yeah.
ultimate goal is decentralization. That is
Yeah.
all I care about. That is all I care about.
No, I don't care about.
No, you're just a good person.
No, I mean, Dietrich, I don't care about being copyrighted. I was just
I don't care
explaining
about what he
like
cares
what
about.
most.
I know that
It-
you're a good person.
It seemed like he was asking me about copyright, and then I just wanted to explain to him that like most people don't get copyright unless a lot of people are listening to
because
it.
he's worried that you're going to have anxiety about saying what you want to say because you're worried about copyright.
I'm not picking up
I know.
what
That's
you're
what I'm
laying
trying to
down.
tell you. You just got to take a deep breath.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to get my message out, man.
There's my water. There's a reason I drink out of glass, you know. I just give my parents food and let them do laundry at my place and take showers at my place if they want to, which usually they're like, oh, I don't want to run up your water bill or something like that. And I think it's like, well, we have it.
a shower.
No shower, no laundry, unless they go to the laundromat or go to the gym to shower.
Wow.
So, why?
Yeah, what?
Well, they bought 10 acres of just land.
Oh, they haven't built a house yet.
They
They're
built
smart.
well, they built a tiny house.
Oh, okay.
I built a cabin,
Wow.
and there were valuable experiences in that. Also learning that taking a pee and a poop in a bucket and then dumping it in a hole is not very fun. And we do enjoy some modern amenities like a toilet and a shower and a place to do laundry. So there are good things that come out of industrialized society. Like these
Yeah.
things would never have been available to us. So we can stay more clean. But the thing is, I don't know if that's, you know, there could be an up and a down to that too, because there's a theory that the more outside, what are they called? Pathogens that we're exposed to, the more our immune systems become resistant to pathogens that are actually pathogens, things that are outside of us. our immune systems are attacking our very own bodies because we live in too clean of a society. Like, think about it. In nature, where would you ever see perfect 90-degree angles? When would you ever see like clean, flat surfaces? Like, it's
Never.
It's almost never. It's an anomaly. It would
So
be
you stop trying to create a reality that is not feasible.
yeah. Like, if you live in a house, make a cottage. Make something that isn't perfect. Live in it. Go through the suffering. Go through the pain that you perceive as pain and suffering, whereas that would just be reality and normality for someone who used to live in a
for someone else,
society.
that might be a traumatic
But
event.
you could say it's traumatic, but guess what? Putting a 500-pound person in a hospital for a year, feeding them only water and vitamins and minerals, so they lose all that weight, is also considerably traumatic, but they put themselves there by eating to that point.
Or
And
they're
it's
just a severe meth addict that can't
Well, then they
conceptualize-
did it from smoking too much to that point.
yeah,
or
like altogether
maybe they were just
actions
like they broke their back
have consequences.
and their tailbone, and they had no the other option than to take opiates to keep
That's not true.
maintaining the life
You
that
s-
they needed to maintain.
You don't
and
have to
then
take
once
opiates
they-
if you break your back. Like, you can live with pain. You can.
Yes.
It's completely possible. So there was, I was listening to this podcast with Joe Rogan and I don't remember who the other guy was. He was talking about how police officers should be trained in ways to detain people and
Oh, I know who you're talking
stop
about. I
violence.
think I listened to that podcast.
Yeah, stop violence with like jujitsu and training in the martial arts.
Yeah.
That way, when it comes to fight or flight situations, they're used to it. They can react in a way that is
Yeah.
actually reasonable because they're not the ones flipping out. They should be the ones that are like, okay, I've dealt with this a million times. I don't care if they pull a gun on me. I don't care if they throw a punch at me. I am not going to lose my cool. Now, if I have to shoot them, I will shoot them. And if I can detain them in another way, if I can stop them in some other way that's non-lethal, I will. And that's why they should be trained in more ways to stop people without lethal force.
Exactly.
Like how people in the military are way more trained than
Police officers.
Yeah. And that's just, no. Because, okay, so I heard
think
that. Yeah.
we should overfund the police.
Well, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Pay for Muay Thai training or
Yeah.
whatever type of martial arts you want to talk about.
Yeah,
Like,
or
Better train them.
Or-
It can't just be 6 freaking weeks or what is it? 6 weeks, right?
I don't even know. Like, I have
It's
not
like
done the research.
6 weeks, and then
Yeah,
they can
let's-
put people in handcuffs and throw them in jail for 15 years.
And
point-
yeah,
and
no,
point
thank
guns
you.
at
Point
their
guns at you,
faces,
shoot
like-
you.
I think the police
No.
training is actually more in depth than that, but I think that.
Well, it also probably depends on the kind of police. If it's just a deputy.
In what state that the police is learning to train in, like there's a lot of variables.
Well, okay, so maybe that goes to state independence. Like, should different states have the right to train their police at different levels? Like, oh, I want to live in the state that trains its police the best. Like, and I'm actually willing to pay the taxes that
Yeah.
pays the police to train the best. Like,
Yeah.
that's the state I want to live in.
I would
And that,
rather
like,
have my money, I don't pay taxes.
So here's the idea. When all of the power becomes centralized, well, then it's just a call on the federal government. Like, the federal government goes, oh, well, this is how all police should be trained, and boom. They stamp it, give it their signature of approval. Why isn't it up to states? Like, I'm not saying it's not. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's not. I'm just saying it's another
it's-
argument against centralization. It should be decentralized.
Yeah,
Different
because it'd
towns.
be easier for everyone to care what's around them instead of care about what's around the whole country.
Could
Yes.
everyone do what they wanted to do without being negatively affected by other people? Anarchy without violence.
Yeah, I mean, just common sense.
No, because
just be nice.
that doesn't work because there's
Does it not?
interpretation of what is moral and not moral is
Well, Terron, so
There's nature.
like, think about this. Well, if common sense dictated that there are bad people out there, wouldn't more people arm themselves? And then train themselves to defend themselves
No, because I
against
would
the
never
bad
try-
people.
I would
And then the
never-
bad people know that more people are arming themselves, and more people, average people who have good intents, are not going to just roll over. So then the bad people don't take control,
Like, I would-
especially in a place like America that has the opportunity. Like, we have wasted so much opportunity in America.
I would never, like, I don't think I trust myself with the responsibility of owning a gun, but I don't think I have I don't think I could actually, I don't know. I don't think it's above me to do that.
What time is it?
Your girlfriend went to a funeral?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I just.
Yeah, her grandma passed. You know, I don't know how that feels. I basically was just like, well, I gave her just some basic advice. I was like, you know, a lot of people like to drink when there's a funeral and stuff like that. Like, they like to drown their sorrows. And I would say
Make you feel worse.
it will make you feel worse. And that's what I said. I was like, if you want to get a good night's rest, well, you're already sleeping in a hotel. It's going to be hard to get that. And if you drink, it's going to be even harder. So just keep that in mind. Make your choices. Like, I am not the controlling type. But when it comes to when someone's with me in my daily life, if I see them making destructive choices, I have almost no choice than to say, I need a little distance. Like, I that's how I see it. Like, if someone's negatively affecting you, you have the choice to say, I just don't want to be around that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to force them to stop their behavior. You can say, hey, I would like it if you'd stop my behavior, and if you don't, then it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And then if they care enough, they'll change their behavior.
Right, and then that actually almost relates
they're
to
just
our
being weak.
previous conversation about anarchy. Like,
Yeah.
if the behavior of just
Without
shooting
violence.
everybody and taking all their stuff isn't getting you anywhere because people are arming themselves and they're going to fight back, and your relationships are really only going to lead to a dead end because you can't produce anything yourself, well, then it is not most beneficial. Most people with common sense would say, well, it's better to just be a part of this society and
Yeah.
actually...
And be friends with people.
Yep. And
Yeah.
we have had that opportunity in the past. It's a lot less, we're a lot less capable of, like, achieving that now because of how much control, like, you think about the advanced weapons and tactics. And
Yeah, well, we
everything that the
become more
government
and more
has.
dependent on everything.
Yeah.
And as the technology, as soon as there's a new technology, at first we're not dependent on it, but over time we are.
Yep. Like, would I know how to make soap or wash my
No.
own laundry? No. I'd probably just have to live in filth if I didn't have a laundromat or a laundry.
Yeah, I mean, you could always wash it out on the river. It'd still be a little bit dirtier, but
But it would be relatively clean.
yeah, well, what I would do is I'd get a cooler and then I'd fill it up with like vodka or something. And then I'd just throw my shirts and shit in there. It'd detoxify, put it in the river for a little bit, and then I'd like wash it or something.
So the alcohol kills the bacteria. You would have to have a pretty high alcohol percentage, or ABV, vodka.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. Or you can just buy like rubbing alcohol because it comes pretty big.
Right.
Or vinegar even.
Yeah.
Um,
You can make vinegar fairly easy.
okay.
Something I like at one point I was like, well, what is used in most baking?
Yeah.
Sodium bicarbonate, which is really just baking soda. I was trying to look up a way to make it, and I couldn't find any. So I was like, well, okay, so do I need baking soda? No, technically not. We don't need baking soda. Most people would be like, I can't live without bread, so I need baking soda so I can make bread. Or I need yeast so I can make bread. Like, there are so many people who create these false needs for themselves. Like, I need to have a laundromat. I need to have running water. I need to have all these things. But in all reality, you could live without them. And like, I would just say most people are creating a false reality of necessity that isn't actually present.
Yeah. I agree.
Deirdre, what are you afraid of?
Never trying.
Good fear.
Because no matter how difficult it is, there's always room for improvement.
If you're afraid of failure, you're basically just afraid of trying.
You're gonna die, so why not try?
Yep. YOLO. You only live once.
No, let's create a thought experiment where you don't die.
Okay.
So what you do in the moment will affect people for thousands of years after what you do.
Wait, you don't die ever in any way? Like you can't, like a bullet can't take your brain out? Nothing, no one dies?
Are you
No.
saying like there's an afterlife situation
No.
or that you're immortal on Earth?
No, neither.
Okay. Wait.
You take your actions
Okay.
knowing that you will inevitably not exist,
Okay. Then.
and you use those actions to create something comfortable for the people that are
Because every action that you take, it has innumerable consequences, because it creates a butterfly effect.
Mm-hmm.
So like you want to like make choices and decisions and execute actions that affect people in a positive way, but not only in a positive way now, but down the line into the future. Because I mean, they're gonna have to live on this earth too.
Yeah. Sure. I try and think a little less about like the whole future thing, and because honestly, who knows if there's even going to be a future? Like, what?
Well, I
if
mean,
it
at
all-
the end of the day, like we're all gonna be extinct, no matter what. The entire humanity eventually, like, it's not gonna exist on the planet forever. That's impossible. Every species that has ever existed has gone extinct except for the ones that are alive right now.
Well, and the sun, they say, has like an expiration. So like at some point,
Yeah.
it would not be able to produce life.
Because everything dies.
Right. And that's why.
But there's always birth. There's always new birth in places.
Well, there would be no
We
rebirth if the sun weren't
we
there.
hypothesize that everything dies.
Okay.
Because until
Yeah.
you experience death, you don't actually.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't died yet, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know if
It's
there's-
life's greatest journey.
You do not know.
I'm excited, but I don't want to experience that right now. Not until I've tried my hardest to do everything I needed to do, and that I've enjoyed the most out of this gift that is life. Will I be ready to die? But that moment needs to be always. Why? Because you could die at any moment.
Right.
So if
So
you're
if
always
you're-
thinking, yes, I didn't regret that action. Like I love my life. I'm taking advantage of what I have.
What are you going to do to take advantage of what you have?
Do what I love.
What do you love?
I love to write. I love to be creative. I love to be imaginative. I love to work on little projects. I love to listen to music. I love to mess around and try to play music with my friends. I like doing whatever. I love being nice to people. I love living in the moment and being me when I can, and breaking free from insecurity, fighting challenges, and becoming a better self.
Deirdre,
Self-overcoming.
What are you afraid of?
Not trying.
So what are you going to try and do to make yourself not afraid?
I haven't decided yet. I haven't decided what I'm going to try my hand at. Like, dude, these things come to people at different times. Like, I'm trying to remember, but there was someone who didn't even like. Michael Jordan didn't start basketball till I think it was like, he didn't even make the varsity team until his junior year in high school or something like that. Like, he was not the best to start. And maybe he didn't even play basketball in middle school or as a kid. Like, I don't know if that's the truth or not, but like the point is that different what you're gonna do is gonna come to you at different points in your life. And to worry about when's it gonna come, you'll probably miss it with all your worrying.
Yeah.
Because you're like, the thing might pass right in front of your eyes. And that's literally happened to me.
And it might do it 100 times.
Well, it probably already has done it like thousands of times to me. Like, I've probably already encountered a lot of opportunities that like I didn't take. So like, I'm like, even just starting today, I took more opportunities today than I have in a while, just to put myself in a state of discomfort, because it'll probably introduce me to what I'm really actually gonna do and what I'm actually gonna love. I just haven't found it yet. There are things I value, like strong family and strength in general, like just being a strong human.
Yeah.
You know, strength is not weakness. Weakness is not strength. That's Mark Bell. I don't know where Mark Bell got it from, but maybe he created it himself.
I think that because we all have similar, you know.
What are you afraid
what do
of,
you call
Terron?
it? Speculation. I'm afraid of spiders. I'm afraid of myself. And I'm afraid of what people tell me that I am.
I'm afraid of dying. Or I'm also afraid of not being myself, not being authentic, feeling trapped inside of this gateway of repression, of not being able to tell people how I feel or say what's on my mind because I'm afraid of how they'll react or respond to me. And that's because I'm not trying.
Not necessarily.
Well, to try is to be brave. Because you're making a risk every time you try. That you might fail.
Yeah.
Or that you wasted your time trying at something that
Yeah.
isn't as successful as another thing. Like the guy who invests in the wrong stock compared to the guy who invests in the right stock.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I
but you
usually
could
invest
live,
in the left stock.
but you could. Well, I mean, in today's age, that wouldn't be much of a bad idea because, you know, the left has a lot of control in, you know, major institutions, so they influence, you know, who gets to operate and who doesn't. Women are the largest spenders versus men. Like, so women spend more money than men, and if women are typically more left than they are right, then you would be right to invest in stocks that are left because women spend their money how they feel. And if they feel that left ideology is the right way, which more women
Well, I
believe
think
that.
we should. Okay, well, I think we should
well,
phrase it more like the people on the left spend more stuff because they're wealthier generally.
Right. I was just
No,
breaking it
that's
down
not
one
the
step
case at
further.
all.
Like more of them are in the middle class. People on the left.
No, the people on the left are oppressed.
Well, I mean, everyone's oppressed depending on like how you think of it.
Yeah, just depending on your perspective.
Yeah. Well, I think people on the left and the right are both repressed by the same system who splits them into groups.
To make them focus on fighting each other rather
Yeah.
Rather than working
oppressor.
together.
Yeah, because if you look at them very closely, their policies are very similar. They all benefit rich people.
There's a lot of
essentially.
there's a
Like,
lot
they
of-
both benefit super rich people,
There's a lot of irony.
and not us.
Of course, not us.
Yeah, it's two wolves and a sheep fighting over what's for dinner. At the end of the day, that's what my friend Dave says, at least.
Even if it's
Well, sometimes
the Pope,
there's some
every
nice
Catholic
wolves.
person wants to be the Pope.
Well, I mean, if you're dedicated to it enough.
Consistency over time.
Yeah. If you go to church every Sunday, you know, you're Catholic, you go to all the confessions, you like read the Bible all the time, you go to groups to talk about that stuff.
And you did all of it.
And you did all that. You studied all the mythology, or like the other like stuff, like history and everything, and you've done everything.
Still didn't make sense.
And
in fact, it made you paranoid.
Yeah, maybe it made you paranoid.
Having to confess to some priest or some pope.
Well, so I think the main flaw in Catholicism and Catholic ideology is that in the end you're still
really guilty.
You're still subject to a man,
mm-hmm.
and a man's ideologies in a man's way, whereas Christian ideology subjects you to no man other than Christ. And pretty much Christ said, doesn't matter what you've done, doesn't matter who you are, who you've been.
In Christ's word,
if you believe in me, you believe in my, I guess, sovereignty and power, and the fact that I am 100% God and 100% man, and that I have the power to forgive, and there's only one way to the Father, and that's through the Son, and the Son became man to relate to our experience, well then that makes you subject to someone who can understand you. And at the end of the day, if they're fully man and fully God, they have the power to forgive that. And he says, no one deserves forgiveness more than another person. They all have access to it. They just have to repent.
And redemption.
Well, and like, what does redemption
that's
mean?
Maliciously intended.
Huh? Like, okay, but what does redemption mean?
Is
it means
revenge.
redeeming yourself.
It's revenge.
Well, but
so
you don't.
A better person.
You're not your redeemer.
Not
You simply subject yourself to the higher power, which is Christ.
But if we're putting our freedom to redeem ourselves in the hands of a higher power, like, doesn't that make us victim to the higher power?
So,
because I mean, if we can't redeem ourselves, how can we say we're truly free?
But for the higher power, that was how it was designed.
Okay, but if you are the problem, can you also be the solution?
Yes.
I don't believe so. Because it's inherent in our sin nature.
Well, if I go and I break my leg, and then all I have to do is rest, and then work on my leg, and then keep rested.
You don't have the opportunity to do that.
Well, why not?
Because you're not privileged.
Okay, so say you
can't
break
just
your...
go to the hospital and take
Hold
your
on.
kids.
Let's take sin as an example. You break your leg 1,000,000 times. Your leg will not recover.
Right.
Your sin nature makes it so that your legs are glass. They will, no matter what, they're broken. So only one thing can turn your legs into unbreakable legs. And then this is a very, very weird metaphor.
Like, a life is suffering, and there's a way out if you do X, Y, and Z.
It's not even X, Y, and Z. It's just X. It's just accept forgiveness.
It's not even a variable.
It's just accept forgiveness and turn a 180-degree turn. So you're headed down the path of sin, or you're headed up the path of righteousness, which obviously you're going to make mistakes on that path because you're still human. You still have a sin nature, but for all those sins that you commit, you're forgiven. Because you have asked for forgiveness. And this is that simple. It's really not that hard.
Even the worst sinners can have the kindest of hearts.
Everyone is capable of extreme evil and extreme good.
Okay.
Like, look at Paul in the Bible, for example. He used to hunt down Christians and martyr them. Stone them. And like, he's like the guy that everybody goes, man, that guy's doing it. He's killing all the Christians. That's an awesome Jew. Like, and then he encounters God. God shines his full brightness on him in the middle of the desert. And he was actually traveling with 2 other guys. And this is a personal account. So these 2 other guys witnessed it. And he was blinded. And then, I can't remember exactly how the story goes. But God spoke to him. And God opened his eyes after blinding him, basically telling him, you're on a path of sin because you're holding your righteousness as a Pharisee over other men, which is exactly the problem with most men, is they hold their righteousness over other men because they believe they are, they're up on this pedestal. They are perfect. They're not humble. And no one had humility like Christ. So
Okay, so what is a sin? Is it just is it suffering within you? Is it
it's a trespass against God,
trespassing? Okay, and then what is God?
the Creator.
Wait, who first conceived
But
God?
what does it mean? Like, what does it mean? What does God mean?
The first literature that conceived God, the first person that spoke.
What does God mean to you? Like, how does it feel?
Where did God originate?
How does it feel? What is
I'm
God?
not big on the feeling.
Not it's the Creator. How does it feel?
Order.
Sociopathic and
Order.
psychopathic.
Order.
There's not
Like
feeling
we are
involved.
simply chaotic, sinful beings that have no other path except self-destruction
Okay.
without God, and God provides the only way out. And the truth is, since we've already damaged this earth, this planet, the Bible says there will be a new heaven and a new earth, and God will redeem all who come to him through the Son.
Okay.
And that is pretty much the whole ideology wrapped up in a very little small few sentences. If you want to know what it's all about, read the Bible. Like, don't ask me, I'm just a man. I'm only telling you what I know.
But someone had to translate all the words in the Bible into English.
Sure,
No,
A man had to do that.
sure.
not necessarily.
But men can be led by God.
Because
if those
you
men
still
are
have
led
the
by God,
chicken
and
egg.
look, if you
have
see-
the possibility that
Okay,
there was a
okay.
scripture.
If
that
you
didn't
see
come
how
from a
it
human,
all
that
comes
came from
together
a
over
higher
the
power,
timeline.
like an
Okay.
egg, and how it was fertilized, the egg without a mother.
If it
Yeah.
all comes together
It all
over the
comes
whole
together.
timeline,
Whole
and there is
timeline.
agreement.
And I'm more, and honestly, I am more on the Egyptian track just because of the timeline. But I also don't disbelieve in the concept that there are plate tectonics and that we were all in the same place at one, or hypothetically. I don't know, man.
I
There's a
think
lot of
you
possibilities.
have a lot of valid points, Dietrich. I personally, I'm not a Christian, and I don't really understand a lot of it. I personally think it would be easier for me to understand the Bible if people didn't take it literally, and then they told it to me in it all means something else. Like it's
how
all
it
metaphors.
means to the individual rather than
Like when
how
I
it
read a
means to the
story
group.
and then it's all like fiction, but it still means something like that I can take as lessons in my life.
Well, and
Because fiction
So-
is the individual. And truth
Jesus
is the
spoke
group.
in metaphors or parables
Yeah.
a lot, and he gave a lot of examples to men because men couldn't understand. Like if he just said, no matter who you are, you get redemption.
Yeah.
Then people wouldn't understand it because they'd be like, well, this guy sinned this much. Like, it doesn't make a difference. Well, okay, so think about this. Here's a parable. There was this man who owned, let's say, a vineyard or some type of place that needed to be harvested.
Yeah.
And he needed workers. And workers came to him throughout the day. There were workers that came in at 8 a.m.,
Yeah.
12 p.m., 4 p.m.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, he hands out $1 to each one, a day's wages to each one. Well, the people who came in at the beginning of the day say, well, why the hell did I get $1? And why the hell did he get $1? And the guy that came in and only worked for 2 hours, why did he get $1? We all got paid the same. Well, that's kind of like forgiveness, and that's kind of like redemption. No matter who you are,
Yeah.
you're still subject to the owner of the vineyard.
Okay.
He says, no matter who you are, you come to me, you get the same result. And that is
Okay.
forgiveness. And that's
And-
the parable.
Well, let's say, what if I wanted to go and I say, hey, Mr. Vineyard Man, you taught me so much about what it means to work at a vineyard, and I kind of want to go and I want to start my own vineyard. Would you help me do that and start my own vineyard?
No man is equal to God. No man could have the power to create his own vineyard.
But doesn't God want us to grow and be something great and amazing?
On this earth, yes, that's where we have our capabilities to shine. And the Bible talks about crowns.
Okay.
There are, in a sense, rewards for people who, they make it to the end of their life without losing faith. They I do not, like, I have not studied my Bible well enough to
Okay.
know all of the crowns, but there's
not
talk about
concerned.
rewards.
I'm just concerned with what you know and what you feel about everything.
Okay.
It's less about Dietrich.
It's
less
not about the
what you
Bible. It's
interpret.
about you.
It's like you.
It's about you.
It's as
What you think
your
and what you
human
remember
being, like,
and what you
deep
feel.
down rooted in who you are as a person, not in what you've been told.
Okay.
Not
So-
in what you've experienced. Like,
You have to trust
like,
yourself, your
you
inner
trust
experience,
yourself,
because that's
yeah.
your connection
not
to God,
overthink
right?
it, just like what it.
Yourself,
the-
your
the
inner
tr-
connection, your
the tr-
mind, because you were created in this being, right?
In this image of God. Okay, so if I represent God to an extent,
Which is a what? That's an if.
Yeah, I mean, if, but to an extent.
okay,
Like
so
you said.
if to an extent I represent God, and I can represent him fully because I'm covered by the blood of Jesus, the sin is covered. Well,
Okay.
then my actions can represent God in a way that is
Okay.
meaningful. And so then that's where the production, your yield, which a lot of people think that a yield is like, oh, how many people did you save? Well, no one saves another person. It's only Christ who saves people and opens their hearts. So, like, say you come to believe in God,
Okay.
and it had something to do with me because I helped, show you things you haven't seen. Well, I didn't do that. It was done through me.
Okay.
I wouldn't be here right
You're
now telling you this.
transferring that energy.
Right, but it's Christ using me
It's
as
coming through
a
you.
vessel.
Okay.
So before you're whole, before you're forgiven, you're a broken vessel. You become a whole vessel once you, like, there's always something missing. Why do you think we chase things all the time? We chase higher meaning, we chase money, we chase all these things that are in our eyes greatness or fulfillment.
Yeah.
And they're never truly fulfilling. Like, you think you're going to get a dollar amount and be fulfilled, you're wrong. You always want more. With forgiveness, you don't have to worry about that. There is no, like, I still chase things on this earth. I still chase to be great.
But constantly you feel like you're doing something that you love and that has meaning to you. So that gets
Yes.
you through.
Right, but I'm fulfilled
You're not
in the
concerned
end.
with the end goal. You're concerned with
Well, I only have power over the now.
Yeah,
So that's
exactly.
that, like, God has literally placed me in time and space. And so as a singular person, I can go, okay, I'm either going to do good or I'm going to do bad. And I'm either going to accept the gift of forgiveness or I'm not.
Okay.
And so when you accept forgiveness, the rest is taken care of in the after. All you have to worry about is right now. You don't have to make any plans.
Okay.
You don't have to go, I'm going to do all these things for God. You have to go, God, show me what you want me to do. And it's that simple. And so a lot of people say, well, what if God doesn't speak to you? Or what if you don't hear God?
God could speak to me if I clicked my fingernails.
Sometimes we act like we have two mouths and no ears. And you need to remember that you were created with 2 ears, and 2 eyes, and 1 mouth.
and one big brain.
And one big brain. And you can overthink it and you can say too much.
Yeah.
But there's never too much listening.
Okay.
And there's never too much seeing. Like, you can see everything and hear everything and filter it.
Okay.
And with the guidance of the Holy Spirit, which is, the third part of the Godhead, 3 in 1,
Okay.
the Trinity, basically, you will have the power to discern between right and wrong. Now, everybody's going to see it differently because God speaks to different people differently. Like, you think every man could have been a Paul? No. We're not meant to be these robots and these drones. God, that's not what God wants. We all have, like, an individual song to sing, and we all have an individual...
We all have a gift to give to the world.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing. And a lot of people believe that being a Christian is, like, just falling in line and, like, being this drone that brings people to God. And that's not the case.
You have a connection to something which gets you... because you have that connection to something that's deep within your soul... It's really deep within you, that connection. Because you have that firm grounding, you won't be controlled by other forces.
Exactly.
Because you have that firm grounding within you.
And there's the song, What a Firm Foundation.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is something that Carl Jung actually talks about. That with a religion gives you the power... And I mean, in my opinion, like whatever religion you fall into, as long as it has some sort of deep inner grounding within yourself, you get that connection within yourself. You'll be able to not be controlled by politicians, by all these social forces, by all these herd controls.
Some people are just over socialized.
Yep, and some people are over socialized. They get kind of beaten into this grind where they have to go down all these like tracks that are already laid out for them on stop at the stoplights and all that shit. And like obviously we need that in society. I'm just giving a metaphor, but
Okay, so a lot of people call like Christianity a religion, and it's really not. It's a relationship. That's
well, I mean that's what a religion is. You have a relationship with an idea, right? A belief, a concept.
I'm religious for my parents.
well. Let's
A feeling.
let's look up
Right.
the definition of religion. I've heard it explained that
Well, I mean,
Christianity is not a religion.
Sure, like their definition of like my personal like what I think of religion when I think religion is having a belief in something, and this belief is firmly grounded within you and your identity, and that gives you a lot of strength.
So it says a particular system of faith and worship, or the belief in and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a person, especially a personal god or gods.
Makes sense.
I guess every religion has, or almost every religion has, prayer or
Yeah, and
some
like
type
some
of
sort of relationship.
religious activity. And I think
Yeah.
what a lot of people believe religion to be is like, okay, you have to pray facing the mosque or whatever, Jerusalem this many times a day, and like they believe religion is this strict, like you do this and you get this, and that is not what Christianity is. Christianity is simply a choice to accept forgiveness and change behaviors based on the dictation that the Holy Spirit gives you. So like in your life, you feel the presence of the Holy Spirit as you walk through this life, because you're only in the moment, and then you make decisions with the guidance of the Holy Spirit, and it's as simple as that. Forgiveness is central to it. Like Jesus said, he who cannot forgive will not be forgiven. Like if you can't forgive,
forgiveness is important, because if there's no forgiveness, then you can't move on and be a better person.
that,
Because
and
you'll hold in that pain for the rest of your life.
right, like if there was a parable of this guy, he was thrown in jail, he had some debts to settle, he owed tons of gold, like more gold than you could ever pay back with any amount of work. You would literally just have to win it back with like in a casino or something like that. You'd have to win the lottery to pay this gold back. So he goes to the king and he pleads for forgiveness, and the king gives him forgiveness. And then the next thing that man does is goes straight to his servant, who owes him a penny, basically, a tiny amount, a forgettable amount, and he chokes him and has him thrown in jail because he won't pay him back. Now, does that man deserve forgiveness in any way, shape, or form? No. He just experienced full forgiveness, which would be like, okay, so you experienced the full forgiveness of all sin. Someone died on the cross for you and gave you full forgiveness. And then you go and you turn to your fellow man and you throw him in jail, you slap the shit out of him, you hurt him, and you treat him sinfully. You're not forgiven at that point.
So, I mean, what if I want to treat... Okay. I'm like... Let's say I want to treat Jesus dying on the cross as a metaphor for my past bad behavior. It's dead now. And now I'm on a new slate, and I've redeemed myself and I've forgiven myself, and now I can move on and be a better person.
So
then you're not being humble.
But all of that is coming from the self.
You can't do that without, or from...
Well,
Wait, what?
that is exactly that, Terron. That's perfect.
Well,
basically, that's coming from a place of self-deification. Like you're making the choice to forgive yourself. That's not how it works.
But it's not. But I'm not deifying myself. I'm just looking deep within myself to that, my deep nature, the nature that I was created with, and I'm looking at that nature, and I'm letting that forgive myself. Because, I mean, what is me but a nature that has been... I'm a force of nature that got picked and
You're
prodded
not
by
being-
my surroundings.
Because it's not humble.
And if I look back to that deepest nature, what I was given, what I was created with, then I can find that firm grounding.
Okay, so say you lost that nature. That nature that is not sin nature. Sin nature came in and corrupted that nature. The only thing that can take that sin nature is the outside force, the ultimate force of nature, which would be
Ultimate
God.
force. Okay.
So think of
But
God
arguably,
as like...
am I connecting to that deep force by going deep within
Yes,
me?
that connection is what...
Okay.
Well, Dietrich
buys-
was also, well, earlier I was going to say that, well,
It's like it's all out here, then it's centering within almost.
Right,
Yeah,
so like
not at all.
you're stretched between all these things. You're no matter what, you're going to explode.
Yeah.
God's the only thing that keeps you from exploding. Like he pulls you all back together. He
Mm.
fixed
Yeah,
the
you
broken
have to be
vessels. He
so
puts all the
humble
pieces.
that you can't even conceptualize God.
So and like I'm
that
not
level of humble,
The-
like that level of stupid, like so far, just like
but the thing is I don't want to like preach any words that have like that aren't right. Like that like I don't want to conceptualize God in a way that God is not. So
Okay, but I mean, what is right? What other people tell you is right? What a book tells you is right?
maybe I just have to experience more things and understand to deepen my understanding of God and read more.
Yeah.
You know, maybe reading about other religions that perceive God in a different way reveals more of my understanding of the one God, the one true God.
And well, is it possible that God speaks to different people in different ways?
Yes, that's exactly the point of the Holy Spirit. Like if every person received the same message that Paul the Apostle did,
Okay.
then there would be no individuality. And that God did not create robots, he created individuals. Which is why that choice is there.
Exactly.
Now, could you love
Absolutely.
someone? Do you actually love someone if you have no choice?
which is
No.
why.
No choice whether or not I love them?
Yeah, that's not love.
Yeah, on a different level
Love
of
love requires looking
If
past
you-
something. Like our version of love. God cannot look past sin. So with his version of love, he expressed it in its fullness by sending his only son and sacrificing him.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people like to think of like this God making a love child with Mary or whatever, and then
I have a
deifying
completely
Mary.
different opinion on
that's also part of Catholicism.
Virgin
They-
Mary.
Yeah, they like
completely
make the
different
Virgin Mary almost
conceptualization of this
equal to,
entire
if not
topic.
more important than Christ. Like that does not make any sense. We did not.
No,
But
it's
you did
completely
mother
illogical.
Jesus,
it's
though.
so illogical that it should not even be a topic that is discussed.
Wait, what are you talking about?
What?
All of this?
Love in relation to God, because the love that you have for another human can never be compared to the love that God has for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
So this is retarded.
Okay, but a
it's
lot of people.
omnibenevolent, right? Omnibenevolent, omnipotent.
Oxymoron. freaking
Omniscient,
starve to death,
all-knowing,
and
all-powerful,
omnipresent.
all loving.
Yeah.
A lot of people mistake that for like.
evangelical.
Okay, if God perceives sin as something that pulls you away from him.
Anti-Violent.
Oh yeah, go
That's
for it.
German, by the way. I
You
know.
might have
It's a
to
good
turn it on.
podcast, by the way, dude. It's fun talking to you.
Yeah. It takes 5 taps of the button to turn it on
okay.
on the side.
Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There you go. That's ready to go. If God knows that sin pulls you 100% away from him every time you sin, the only way he can stop himself from destroying you because the sin has corrupted you is to place his image right on you. When you accept forgiveness, you have that image of Christ or the blood of Christ covering you. And you are no longer subject to the wrath of God. And so if God is all loving, which he is, he gave us that way out. And that's exactly how I see it.
And then through his son. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
Which he made fully human. So
Okay.
so we can relate. We can go, well, it's not God just coming down and going, well, if you love my son, then you love me. Like, it's not like that. It's like, I sent my son to experience all the trials and tribulations that you ever received, if not more, because Jesus was literally tempted by the devil for many days in the desert on an empty stomach. So, like, think about when you're at your weakest. A lot of people are at their weakest when they've not eaten for a while.
Yeah.
That's when they're most prone to snapping at other people.
So that's man. There's a similar story in Buddhism, where do you mind if I?
Go for it.
Okay, so I believe the Buddha, he was sitting by this tree meditating, and he was starving himself basically, because he wanted to find a way out of desire. That means, not even wanting food, not wanting anything, and because he thought that desire was the root of all suffering. When you want something, it makes you suffer. So he wanted to expose himself of all of that. But what happened was,
inevitably he would want to not have to want, and would then thus be wanting something in his efforts.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree with you. There's flaws in this, but
the point is, he's sitting by this tree and he's meditating. And then all these spirits come at him with swords and crossbows and all that, and he fights it all off. And then afterwards, he says something like, one of the gods or whatever wanted to prove to him that he couldn't beat suffering or whatever, or like you couldn't beat hate, you couldn't beat, I guess, in your eyes, sin.
Okay.
And because of that, he was like weak or whatever. But then what he did was he said, no matter what, I will always love, and I love you, and it's okay. And then he found this middle ground where he doesn't have to starve himself. He doesn't have to do all this crazy shit. He can just live a normal life and be a good person. And I think I'm just taking that in relation to, okay, so Jesus had to fight sin, and then what happened? Or like he was tempted by the devil, and then what happened?
So the devil puts him through many temptations. He tells him to throw himself off a cliff and call angels to save him. And then and he says that, and then the devil gives him scripture that supports that the Son of God, or aka the Son of Man, is what they call him, because he was born of man, fully God, fully man. Just kind of like something that repeats itself throughout the Bible, even from the Old Testament. If he has the power over angels, then he would call angels to save him. So he goes and repeats. He says to the devil, "It is also written, thou shalt not test your God." Next temptation. Devil offers him. He basically says, "Turn these stones into bread and feed yourself." He's been starving for 40 days. If he has the power of God, which he did, he could have just done it. And then it's another one of those, situations where he's like, well, man shall not live on bread alone.
yeah.
Man can feed off of the Spirit of God
Yeah.
if he were fully God and fully man. So,
Well, I mean, don't make shortcuts in life.
right. And the devil was offering him all the shortcuts that every man cannot resist. No man could have resisted these temptations from the devil.
Yep.
Which is why he was fully God and fully man. The last test was he took him up to the highest peak and showed him this all of Jerusalem and all of the kingdoms of the world, and said, you can have all of these, because the devil's dominion is earth.
Okay.
Because it's been corrupted by sin. He can live here. He's been cast down from heaven, a perfect place. And Jesus goes like, but this is not the world. Like, I don't remember exactly what he says. I'm not going to put words in his mouth because I don't remember the exact quote.
That's fine.
I think it would be wrong too. So, but basically he denies him and says, I'm not going to take it. So then, after the devil leaves him, angels come down, feed Jesus, heal him. And because he withstood all those temptations. And like, we're supposed to model ourselves after Jesus and his role that he played on earth. And so like, if that means suffering to the point where we go and, we've got our hands chained behind our back and we're about to get our heads chopped off by Islamists or whoever. if that means suffering to that point, as long as they know that your message is consistent with Christ's message, you've done your job.
Okay.
You're like, it's not to say that if you didn't preach that message and you didn't share that you won't have forgiveness.
Okay.
But it is to say that would be the most rewarding thing you could do.
All right.
And it to me, like, right now, obviously this is, like, most people, a lot of Christians would be very uncomfortable having this kind of conversation. A lot of Christians don't even share their faith. They're too scared to. Also, my throat is really
Wait, what happens if you
starting to go.
aren't Christian but you still...
So we might have to cut this
Well,
short.
this is the longest conversation I've ever had with someone about
No, wait,
Christianity.
what happens if
so-
you're not Christian, but you still show your faith, even though, like, what if your words and the things that you do still align with the Christian faith, even though you don't?
God uses people who aren't Christian all the time. All the time. Like, in the Bible, so many times there were someone from the outside who was brought in to fix a Jewish problem, which the Jewish problem was typically they were sinning against God. They had His commandments. They knew what they needed to do, but they wouldn't do it. Like, they couldn't do it. That's the whole point of the Bible. Is
to go like this.
the whole Old Testament is the Jews banging their head against this wall of sin, thinking it's gonna, like, break and then reveal, some greater thing.
Okay.
Like, they have literally the presence of God. He has spoken to them. They know He's there. They are God's chosen people.
Okay.
And they still deny Him. And that is to show us that no matter who you are, like, these are the chosen people, and they still can't do it. No one can. Not a single person. And there was one person who held up all commandments
15 minutes.
and
Starting now.
actually lived the perfect life, and that was Jesus.
Well, there is a saying. It's that there was only one Christian, and he died on the cross.
Where did that come from?
This guy Friedrich Nietzsche wrote it.
Oh, I've heard of Nietzsche. But,
Well, because Jesus was the only one that could do all that perfectly.
right. So then if that person goes, okay, I did it perfectly.
Alexa, will you tell me Nietzsche gets
Anyone
words
who-
on Jesus?
Anyone who says,
A Long Obedience in the Same Direction by Eugene H. Peterson. The Kindle ebook is $8.49.
Yeah, Alexa, go fuck
At
yourself. I'm not trying to buy anything.
okay, so
Okay.
assume there's like this this person who runs races, like, or not runs races, but like he
Yeah.
puts on
He's
the
like
races.
a professional runner. Usain Bolt.
Hold
The
up.
races
Usain
are
Bolt
on. Horse
runs
out
races.
of the starting gate.
Yeah. And there's this, say, perfect time to be ran. And Jesus runs it. And the person who puts on the race just goes, what do you want as your reward? And the racer goes, I want anyone who ascribes to me and reflects me as best they can and who accepts me as their savior to be saved. Like, that reward is granted to him. So the person who puts on the races has all powerful, has all the power.
Okay, so my only issue with this is that why should he be the only one? Like, okay, so why should I believe that he is the only one that can grant that power? Like, why should I believe that anyone else on the field can't run faster than him and better?
What about...
And then I can subscribe to them instead.
Because you look at all the racers and none of them have perfect attributes.
Okay.
And like you look at the example he set and you go, where did he fail? He didn't.
Okay.
And like when he had an opportunity to speak and say hurtful things, like one of the things I ascribe to most when I see
It just depends on
the
what kind
example
anecdote,
of
like,
Christ, I see someone who, when they had the chance to do harm, did not. Like they said,
They said no.
yeah. So like if
Like, I'm not going to hurt you, I'm going to love you instead.
yes, so instead of saying something that's gonna hurt someone, I'm going to choose to do the opposite. Like,
Okay.
maybe I'll say something that might kill him with kindness, you know, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like,
exactly.
it sounds a bit cliche, but that's been one of the best things for my life. Whenever I hold on to hate or anger or anything, like it never turns out better than
Yeah, because you can just talk to them and say, hey, like, I want to do my thing, and you can do your thing.
Well, yeah, I can do my thing, you can do your thing. In the end, you got to know that I don't see myself as better than you. I don't
Yeah.
deserve forgiveness any more than you. I don't even have any more understanding than you do necessarily. I'm just at a different place where
Yeah.
I have accepted forgiveness and say you haven't, or say Terron hasn't. I'm not in a place to judge anyone. I'm still
Judge not lest you be judged.
Yeah. It's like when they pulled a prostitute in front of Jesus,
Yeah.
and he said, "Ye who has not sinned, cast the first stone." Everyone stepped back and set down their stones. They all sinned. No one cannot sin. Everybody knows it. Like, if you went
Eye
to
for an eye
another,
makes the whole world blind.
right? Like,
That's
if
what Terron
you
says.
went to any country in the world and you explained to them what sin is,
Mahatma
like
Gandhi.
doing something wrong, something you knew was wrong, there's not a single person in this world that can claim they have not done wrong when they knew they could have done right. And Jesus is the only one who has.
I just do them left.
And so, the way I see it, the best way to exemplify Christ is to choose the right thing always, as best you
What about
can.
the left thing?
You're going to make mistakes, and that's why you need forgiveness. And it ends there.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dietrich. That's fun.
Good talking with you, Greg.
You too.